Hi, I'm Kerry Grinkmeyer. I'm the host of Best of Us Investors. And let me be totally transparent and upfront here. I consider myself a baby boomer. Although I was born in 1944, and the baby boomer generation actually started in 1946, I consider myself a baby boomer in all regards. And the cause of the current stock market crash is my fault and my generation's fault. This was brought to my attention this morning as I was watching Squawk Box, which on CNBC, which is a morning practice. That's where I have my coffee and see what's going on. And Andrew Ross Sorkin and Joe Kernan got into a discussion relative to the lifting of the mask mandate. And Joe basically said that he would never again wear a mask. He hadn't been wearing one for months, and he would basically destroy them all. And Joe said, or Andrew said, well, yeah, Joe, but if you knew you were sick, maybe you knew you had to get on an airplane to go get treatment somewhere else, and you were sick and you had a communicable disease, would you wear a mask? And Joe said, no, I would not. I will never wear a mask again. And Andrew said, yes, but you could be spreading a disease. And he said, that's up to the person sitting next to me. If they want to wear a mask to protect themselves from me, that's up to them. But I'm not going to wear a mask. And I said to myself, oh my God, there it is. The me generation. The generation of sociopaths. It brought back my memory of reading this book 2 years ago. It was written in 2017 by Bruce Cannon Gibney, and it goes into how the sociopath generation of the baby boomers did not and still does not care about anyone but themselves. And they are what is causing the stock market crash that you are experiencing right now. And I want to, in this video, talk about what we need to do to get out of the predicament that the baby boomers have put us in. That's what I'll do in this video. And I hope it is beneficial to you so that you know how to invest as we move forward. And I hope it starts a political movement to get rid of those baby boomers who are destroying our economy and destroying our country. Get rid of them. I'll be right back. Oh, by the way, this is not financial advice.
Best of Us Investors presents Kerry Grinkmeyer.
Okay, what has caused the stock market crash of 2022? I think we can all agree it's caused by inflation, it's caused by higher interest rates, it's caused by the Russian-Ukraine war, and it's caused by overvaluation of current stocks. I would then ask you, who's been in charge of this economy for the past 20 years? And I would look to our presidents and ask you what they all hold in common. Let's go back to 2020. That's where I think this all started. And that was when Bill Clinton was president. He was born in 1946, the first year of the baby boomer generation. He was followed by George W. Bush, born in 1946, the first year of the baby boomer generation. He was followed by Barack Obama, born in 1961, near the end of the baby boomer generation. He was followed by Donald Trump, born in 1946, the first year of the baby boomer generation. He was followed by Joe Biden, prior to the baby boomer generation, but raised in the same atmosphere, basically, that I was, born in 1944. And then, wait a second, what about Vladimir Putin? Born in 1952, a purebred baby boomer. So, now let's look at the stock market over the last 20 years. When these people were exerting their power, when the baby boomer attitudes were being pushed forward into our economy and our society. This is a chart that I've created on TradingView. I use it quite often. It starts in 2020 and runs through current days. I want you to focus starting on that green line. That is our national debt. And I want to put that into perspective for you. And I want to tell you that, first of all, go back to 1971. 1971, August 15th, 1971, Richard Nixon took us off the gold standard, basically said to you that if you have an American dollar, you can no longer come to the government and demand gold in exchange for your dollar. Why did he do this? He needed money to fight the Vietnam War. So at that point, or on August the 15th, 1971, our national debt was $389 billion. Rounded off, call it $400 billion. By 2000, that's roughly 30 years, it was at $4 trillion. $4 trillion. That's a 10x increase. It took us roughly 200 years to get to 400 billion. It took us 30 years to 10x it. Okay, we're now at 2000 and Bill Clinton, our first baby boomer president, is in control. Our debt then from 2000 to 2022 went from 4 trillion to 30 trillion. That's a 7.5x in 21 years. I think it's fair to say that by 2030, it will exceed $40 trillion. This is what is taking our economy and driving the stock market. Now, again, look at what the stock market did as it followed the path of debt, as it followed the path of inflation and increasing valuations of stock. What you need to recognize is when you shower the country with money, it all has to go somewhere. It has to end up somewhere. Yes, as we put 9 trillion in 2020, that's right, 9 trillion in 1 year. We sent checks to individuals. They needed those checks to pay their bills, to keep the roof over their head and food on their table and their young babies healthy. Well, they spent it. It was spent again and again until it ended up in the pockets of someone who didn't need it. So what did they do with it? They invested it. They invested it in the driving stocks. That was, in particular, Amazon, Google, Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Tesla, the stocks that the generation was excited about. The baby boomers, at the same time, were spending money on their big houses. Now we're talking from 2020. They got involved with their McMansions. At the same time, they basically made the decisions, we're not going to improve the highways that our parents built for us. We're not going to improve the airports. Hell, we know Social Security is going bankrupt, but we're not going to raise the amount that you can pay to Social Security from $119,000 up to $150,000, which would make Social Security work for another 75 years. But we're not going to do that. You're not allowed in our pockets. We've allowed our pension programs to go underwater as our national debt explodes. We built McMansions. Hell, we drive exotic cars. And oh, what about student debt? Let them worry about their student debt. I, as a baby boomer, paid $1,800 a year for my room, my board, and my tuition. What would you get for $1,800 a year today in education? You won't even get in the front door. So we, the baby boomers, said, yeah, 50,000 a year for education, that's well worth it. You aren't going, that's how we profit, and let the next generation worry about that debt. That's who we are. Get used to it, Andrew Ross Sorkin. It's all about me. That's Joe Kernan speaking. So, what are we to do? What's going to happen to the stock market with it remaining in the hands of the baby boomers? Within a couple months, you're going to have to go through the midterm elections. I want you to look at every candidate and see where they were born. If they were born anywhere between 1946 and 1964, do not vote for them. They have the wrong attitude. They believe in the me generation. And if we're going to save this nation, we got to get rid of Joe Kernan's. The guy who says, I don't care if I make you sick. It's all about me and my right to make a decision relative to me. You take care of yourself, but I have my rights and I'm going to. Joe, it's time for you to retire. We need to get you and your interruptive mouth off of TV and your bad behavior. We need to let technology take over. We have inflation, but technology will create deflation. Yes, as we take the truck drivers off the road and put on a fleet of autonomous trucks moving our goods, the cost of moving goods will come down, and that's deflationary. As we bring in biotechnology that is going to go towards health cure rather than health care, we will reduce our medical costs, and that's deflationary. We will disrupt the current way of doing things. We will tell the world we are not going to allow global warming because it's convenient for us to burn fossil fuels. We are going to go to electric vehicles, and we better get there quick. We're going to put solar panels on my roof and a battery in my garage, and I will no longer be dependent upon the electric company. We'll also, at that point, take us off the grid so that cybersecurity can step in and protect us from an invasion from Vladimir to shut down our electric grid, our internet, and everything else. We have to become self-sufficient. We have to adopt 3D printing and robotics in an effort to bring manufacturing back to the United States so we can be non-dependent on other countries. My point is, we are at the verge of a new world order. And thank you, Joe Kernan, for bringing it to my attention that you are a part of the generation of the sociopaths and that you have to be retired. We got to get rid of this me attitude and adopt an attitude that this world needs to survive by working together and being kind and not being so effing self-centered. Okay, that's my rant on what I think needs to happen to this world and why I believe our stock market is crashing. It's because of my generation's selfishness. And we got to turn that around. If we can do that, and I am confident we will. I am confident that the millennials are now stepping forward and saying, let's get rid of health care and go to health cure. Let's go to genome sequencing and genome editing and genome therapy. Let's go to stem cell transplants so that you can target the diseases in our body. Let's make our bodies as efficient as our automobiles. It's not that difficult, but we have to have a change in attitude. I am not a political person, but I will never again vote for a baby boomer. That means, I'm sorry, Kay Ivey, governor of Alabama, I cannot vote for you. All right, talk to you again tomorrow. We'll get on to something a little happier, hopefully.